Preparations for King Misuzulu KwaZulu-Natali's coronation are underway. The KwaZulu-Natal Premier has announced that since the national government had gazetted the King, the provincial government was ready to provide him with all the necessary support as he embarked on his task of leading the Zulu nation. However, some members of the royal family are still trying to halt the coronation, citing that the process of identifying the king was flawed. Let's pick up on the conversation now, and we're joined by Prince Thokozani Zulu, who speaks to us via the virtual platform. Prince Zulu, thank you very much for your time. Can we start with the conversation around the date of the 16th of March? And this is when the presidency put out a statement saying that President Cyril Ramaphosa has officially recognized Prince Misuzulu as king-elect. I'm using the words extrapolated from that statement, that Prince Misuzulu has been recognized as king-elect of the Zulu nation. Is that a decision supported by the entire Zulu royal family?
Morning, Toli, and morning to the viewers at home. Firstly, on the issue of the letter that you've just referred to from the office of the president, in fact, there are a number of discrepancies around that letter, given the fact that when you read the first, second, and third paragraphs, you will realize that the president has recognized Prince Misuzulu in terms of section 8, subsection 3A. Now, for us, that presupposes that there has not been a dispute resolution process. Also, when you look at the third paragraph of the same letter, the president says that he has consulted with the relevant minister and the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, when you go to the text of the Act, it will tell you that the President will recognize the King-elect subject to Section 3 that I've just referred to, and Section 4. And Section 4 relates to the dispute resolution process. Now, it would appear to us that the process of resolving the dispute has been jettisoned. We don't know why, and we still await reasons from the president for that. But also, when you look at the letter written by the Speaker of Parliament, in that letter it stated that the recognition by Parliament is or was pursuant to the judgment of Justice Madondo. Now, our problem, a serious problem with that is that Prince Magate, firstly, the matter of the rightful heirship to the Zulu monarchy was never a matter before the court. Now, secondly, Prince Magate had not approached the court to request that he gets recognized. Now, the problem we have is that how does it come about for the court to adjudicate upon the matter that is before it? And it appears to us that the entire process is flawed. Then it's for the viewers to make up their minds as to what could be the possible reasons for that.
You have quoted the Act, and I suppose the Act that you are quoting here is the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act of 2019, and the President saying that he is acting in accordance with that Act, and this is on the back of what his statement says was the royal family which had identified Prince Misuzulu as the person who qualifies in terms of customary law to assume the position. Are you saying that the president has been wrongly advised?
It would appear so, or whether it is a deliberate intention to mislead the nation, in the sense that, when the Act calls for a meeting of the royal family to be convened, it's not a question of a formality. It's an injunction, because it's important to hold the meeting of the royal family. Now, you will recall that on the 7th of May, we saw a public meeting at Wakangela Mankengane Palace, purported to be the meeting of the Zulu royal family. When the adherents of King Misuzulu realized that they had fumbled, they then quickly called a meeting of the 14th of May, which purported to be the meeting of the Zulu royal family, when in fact it was not, for these simple reasons. Firstly, there has to be that quintessential component of the Zulu royal family that is tasked with driving the process. It can't be a traditional prime minister, as it has always been purported. Secondly, and the most critical part for us, is the fact that when the meeting of the 14th was called, there were already serious ructions within the Zulu royal family. And hence, it is our contention that the meeting of the 14th was the meeting of the faction, or the meeting of the adherents of Prince Misuzulu. What becomes a problem with that story is the fact that when you read the Act, it should then say that that is Section 8, subsection 1A, subsection Roman figure 1. It will tell you that a king would be identified in terms of the customary law and customs, subject to Section 9, subsection 1. What does that section say? It states that should a person to be identified, or has been identified, has transgressed certain customary law or customs, that person is not fit to be identified, or to become to ascend, or to become an incumbent.
Can I quickly follow up there? Can I quickly follow up there, Prince Thokozani, and ask the question, what are these transgressions, therefore? Because the understanding, as has been told on numerous occasions by the AmaZulu Prime Minister, Prince Buthelezi, that Prince Misuzulu was identified by his father, the late King Goodwill Zulu.
Okay, Toli. Firstly, the traditional prime minister acts at the behest of the royal family. And also, if that is our understanding is that African customary succession is interstate. You can't nominate a person, you can't identify a person for the purposes of that person ascending the throne. You can only nominate the person. So that issue is neither here nor there in terms of both the customary law, customs, and the Act. Hence, I was saying that now that issue, subject to Section 9, subsection 1, it's a serious one, because it's a question of whether that particular person is indeed fit and proper to ascend the throne.
All right. So that's the one element. You are now raising a question about certain transgressions. Let me perhaps try and take the viewers along with us. Do you accept that Prince Misuzulu was identified as the successor by the late King Zwelithini Kapeguzulu? Do you accept that?
Well, if you look at the will of His Majesty, that is at clause number 15, it is purported that, the so-called will or the alleged will, it is purported that the king nominated the late queen, may her soul rest in peace, to ascend the throne. Now, one fundamental problem with that is that the king himself, when he appeared before the Nhlapo Commission under the oath, he stated that succession in the Zulu kingship is in terms of male primogeniture. Now, that becomes the first problem.
What does that mean?
It means that the leadership or the kingship will move from one male member of the family to the next. So it moves from the father to son. Mm-hmm. So the issue of a female candidate does not arise.
All right. Let me try and move us along because time is against us. Can I ask the question quite simply? You keep referring to transgressions, and the assumption is that there may have been some kind of transgression that Prince Misuzulu may have committed. Is that what you are referring to? Is it him that you are referring to, that he has committed certain transgressions? And what are these, and why would they prevent him from becoming king?
Well, Toli, a meeting of the family is called precisely for that reason, so that such matters can be exhausted in the meeting of the family. Hence, we are contending that this meeting deprived the royal family of engaging on serious matters. Hence, we went to the office of the president for him to intervene in the process. And such matters, if any, will be deliberated upon in an appropriate platform.
Well, what will it take for the AmaZulu royal family to unite Prince Thokozani, in your view?
Well, Toli, we all know that it takes two to tango, and the fact that all parties involved have to reach a consensus to reconcile. But also, the question of reconciliation can't be spoken to in vacuum, because there has to be a precondition for such reconciliation. And one of the most important preconditions for reconciliation is justice. And now, very importantly, to remind the viewers at home that on the 12th of March, the royal family held a commemorative celebration in honor of the late king. All the king's consorts, all the king's offspring, all the king's siblings and family members gathered at Enaleni or Kwaketo Mthandayo Palace. Then you have to ask yourself, who is not making an effort towards that much wanted and anticipated reconciliation?
You're opening up a can of worms, but I'm out of time, because the understanding is that that commemoration was actually held at two separate palaces, which talks to the divisions that continue in this family. But we're going to have to leave it there for now. That's Prince Thokozani Zulu talking to us there. Thank you very much for making the time to clarify some of these issues for us, and we have to put it on record as well, tell you, the viewer, that we have reached out to the other side of the AmaZulu royal family, and they have stated that they will speak to us at a later stage.